talking about fine-tuning our systems. I mean, having systems in place, and just so you know, the systems that we're going to go into right now, our business operating system, has been tried and tested and developed over the last 30 years. This isn't something that just, hey, it was a cool graphic and we just decided that it might be fun to do. It wasn't that at all. It's been over 30 years in the making. And just to reemphasize what the business operating system is, it's the DNA of people, the DNA of business, and the DNA of life. What is that? It's personality masteries. That's the DNA of people. The 530 grid, which Karen's going to come up and do in our next segment, is about the DNA of business. And then the DNA of life is the natural laws. It's how everything gets tied together, and Bruce Brankel is going to be sharing that with us. If I can use an analogy, the system we have is like a car. So the outside is the personality, what we see in somebody as we start to interact with them. The engine is really the 530 grid. It's really the thing that drives everything. And we're going to get into that a little bit better when Karen comes up. But again, it's knowing how to tie everything together. And then the natural laws is kind of like the transmission. So again, the body of the car, the engine, and the transmission. You can have an outstanding looking car with no engine, it's not going anywhere. You can have a great looking car with an engine and no transmission, and that thing is going to turn on and sound beautiful, but it's not going to drive the car anywhere. So all three have to be together. So let's start with the first. We're going to look at the chassis right now, and that is the DNA of people. All right? So here's 4 segments, four quadrants here. We have a cube, a pyramid, a wavy line, and a ball, and this is now leaning on me.
Push the middle down.
What?
Middle of the bottom. The cross.
All right. There we go. Excellent. Thank you very much, Ed Kirch. All right. Is that still leaning? Okay.
A little.
Just lean with it.
If I lean with it, it'll be all good. Is that better?
So
That's
the
good.
square is coming into
Now it's really
that right
crooked? I
now.
love this now.
It's perception.
Is it? Is there it is? Is that it?
That's good.
Okay. The reason why I did that on purpose is because if you look at the cube, you're more like the analytic. Your greatest strength is the fact that you have this amazing attention to detail. You love to cross your T's, you love to dot your I's, you love to make sure that everything works properly, that it's level, and your greatest weakness is probably the fact that you see a lot of details and that you always cross your T's, you always cross your I's, and you have to make sure everything is always done in order. And it's a wonderful thing to be able to do, but doing it all the time can drive everybody else around you nuts.
Yep.
Right? 'Cause right. You're not having a lot of fun doing it necessarily, but it's really important because without the details, a lot of things don't get done, quite frankly. So we need the analytic. What's the next? It's a pyramid. And if that appeals to you, you're probably a driver. What's a driver? Oh man, your greatest strength is that you get stuff done now. We're moving now, get on board, we're in the car, we're driving, and you see the view from 30,000 feet, you have this great vision of what's going on, and that's your greatest strength. Your greatest weakness is the fact that you're a driver, and that you can see things from 30,000 feet, and you're in a car and you're running, because sometimes you just run people over. A driver gets in the car, runs people over, backs up over them again, ga-dunk, ga-dunk, reaches out, grabs them, throws them in the car. Come on, let's go. And if they're having fun doing it, the person actually thanks them. Thanks for running me over. Thanks for taking me with you.
Yeah.
Okay, right? And then the wavy line, right? We've seen some wavy lines here this morning. These are the fun people to be around. These are the expressives, right? They like to talk. We like to engage with people, right? It's a lot of love having fun, love having a party. And that's the greatest strength, is people like being around expressives. And the greatest weakness of the expressive is that you love having a party and you love talking a lot, and that everybody loves being around you, and you have a hard time following through with sometimes even the smallest of details, seeing them and actually executing them. And if you're the cube, the pyramid and the wavy line, the last one we have is the sphere. And these are the amiables. These are the people, they don't talk a lot. They're more quiet, they're more reserved. They go along. And we love these people, right? They just go along with the flow. And we like being around because they want to engage with people. They really care they love people, and the greatest weakness of the amiable is that they go along with pretty much everyone for a certain period of time, and they kind of agree, for the most part, and they'll engage at a certain level, and they really do deeply care, but at some point, they're going to stop and say, I'm really serious about this one thing, and they won't budge. So if you're in an argument between somebody who loves to drive and we're moving this on, let's go, boom, 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 and the person who's the amiable, who do you think wins? The amiable, not the driver, because this person's just stubborn. They'll just
They won't move.
drives the driver nuts because he's not moving along. Come on, do what I say. Right? These are the personalities. Right? So when we're talking about fine-tuning systems, we're talking about not only identifying who they are in us, but who they are in other people. Because how we communicate, what we communicate, and why we communicate it is going to be vital. And in fine-tuning our systems, it's not just knowing about the personality types, it's about starting to incorporate natural laws with the personality types. So let me give you a quick example of the conflict resolution model. Because when we fine-tune systems and we deal with people, we'll always deal with people, and no matter what, can we agree to that? You'll always have people that you're dealing with, right? And often they're the people that are opposite you, right? So if we get that right off the bat, it's important in order to resolve the conflict. What's the first step in conflict resolution? If somebody is making you upset, go to them one-on-one, please. Don't go to anybody else. Don't talk about it to anybody else. The quickest, easiest way to resolve conflict, listen, is to go to that other person and find out what happened, okay? That's the easiest way to do it. If they don't listen, if they're really resistant to that, then the second thing is to bring 2 or more people with you. That's the second step. But don't jump to that step as your first thing. And don't grab people that agree with you or just are on your side. You want somebody who's objective that can help both of you resolve the conflict, okay? And if that doesn't work, then bring it before the whole team. Because we don't just deal with 1 or 2 people. There's a whole team of people we usually have. That's the third step, but it's important to do it in that order. And once we do it in that order, there's 4 steps we need to do. See, feel, hear, and understand. See, feel, hear, and understand. Acknowledge the hurt. That's the first thing. See it for what it is. Don't get defensive. See it for what it is. So you told me I upset you. Appreciate you bringing that to me. Okay, so tell me again what it is that I did that really upset you, right? See it for what it is. And then the second thing is here, is to say, feel with them, is to say, okay, so how did that make you feel when I did that? Well, it made me feel terrible. It made me feel like I couldn't trust you. It made me feel some certain way. So see, feel. The next thing is to hear. Well, then how can I prevent that from happening in the future? If I did those things, how can I prevent that from doing that in the future? That's what you're trying to really communicate with your body language, with the tone in your voice, with your actions, and then understanding is tying those all 3 together. So let me see if I got this right. So I upset you, and it was in this way. It made you feel this way, and I can avoid doing that in the future by doing this. Is that right? Yes. Conflict resolution. And usually on the first try, you're going to get, it's like an onion. You're going to get to the first layer. Maybe the second, if you come back to it again. But it may take repeated times to going back to that person, developing trust, fine-tuning the personality, DNA of people before you can move on. When you do, a fine-tuned system is going to make everything work.